Hello and welcome to our video contemplation of day signature 60. This frequency corresponds to the Angel of Hearts, the prime instinct to celebrate, and the heart essence of affection. It is represented by the angels of honor and possibility.
So we have the 38th angel of honor, who walks the pathway of persistence to become the embodiment of the warrior. And then we have the 60th angel of possibility, who walks the pathway of magic to become the embodiment of awe.
Oh yeah. The 60th angel was the very first angel session that we hosted. It was the very first angel that spoke to us, the very first angel we met with, and the very first angel we transcribed. This is a special one. I love that we get to work with the 60th angel today.
And the frequency of 60 is a special frequency because it's amplified.
That's right. It's an amplified expression of the frequency of the number 6. So there's a connection, of course, between the 60 and the 6. Interestingly enough, this prime instinct to celebrate is the 6th prime. That I'm just seeing that now.
Yes. Yes, it's the soulmates.
That's correct. Soulmates is the name of the 6th prime.
In traditional tarot, it was called the Lover's card. In the Liberated Tarot, it's soulmates.
Yes. So you may have noticed that we've shifted a few things here. We're daily refining this process of recording, of lighting, of audio, of placement. We want to be able to include you in a conversation that feels like a conversation. Up until now, we've been facing you directly. We're giving ourselves a little bit more angle now so that our necks aren't turned away from you when we look at one another, at least not as completely. So for those of you who have been joining us, thank you for bearing with the process. It will continue. We're going to find exactly what works best to share what our hearts are constantly so full of with you in the most relatable, comfortable, casual, and yet still profound way possible. So that's a part of why we're appearing a little differently today. We're excited about it though, and we're excited about what the day holds. There's so much I feel so excited to get right into, but we should probably follow our usual stream.
Yes.
Beginning with the tarot member itself.
The angel of hearts, which you won't find the angels in any other tarot that we know of anyway. The angels are brand new members of the tarot. That's why the Liberated Tarot is actually an expanded tarot from 78 figures to 86. And the 4 angels are angels that are set over the suits. So they actually preside over each of the 4 suits. So you have the angel of swords, the angel of wands, the angel of hearts, and the angel of diamonds. And they represent the essence of that suit.
Yes. You may have noticed by now that we refer to those suits as virtues. Every angel is expressing the essence of its set of virtues. In this case, we meet the angel of hearts, and we've learned that it's representative of this heart essence of affection. Previously, we met the angel of wands, and it was representative of the wand essence of power. And days before we started recording these with any regularity, we had met the angel of swords for the first time, who represents the sword essence of precision. These are really special members of the tarot. This expansion from the 78 card or 78 member tarot to the 86 member tarot that we're working with here, I am excited to mention this only because minutes before this conversation, Laura out of nowhere asked me what the frequency of expression, the word expression itself was. I forgot to tell you.
And you forgot to tell me. What is it?
It's 86.
Wow.
So really what we find here is that every one of these 86 members of the Liberated Tarot is expressing something, which is a part of what we find in the virtues, in the noble roles, in the prime instincts. All of these are themes that intend to express something natural, something inherent within us. But it's also fair to say that these members are almost like flutes through which the angels are expressing themselves. So we're dealing with various forms of expression, but certainly this theme of expression remains fundamental to both the angels and the liberated tarot.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just kind of neat to see that connection
on
a frequency level.
Absolutely, on purpose too. I think we were meant to connect the word expression and the meaning of the word expression to this essence of hearts. Mm-hmm. It's kind of almost similar to saying the essence of hearts is affection. It's also saying the expression of hearts is affection, I think.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I think that's important to consider. We often think in terms of expression as relating primarily to our words. But words are so much more than just words. Words can be spoken from the mind only, from the intellect. They can carry a coldness and a sterility that lacks depth, that lacks weight, that lacks presence. Or words can be spoken from some place that involves both the intellect and the heart, which we've spoken about recently when we met the path of openness, mm-hmm. how it's important to have both the mind and the heart open. When this happens, now those same words can carry with them the tone of the heart, which, as we learned just yesterday, is affection. Mm-hmm. The tone of the heart is affection. So, yes, we're still working with words. We're still dealing in words. But the frequency that these words are now permitted to carry is of a much higher quality. It carries something which is of a higher frequency and a greater depth simultaneously when we involve the heart in this way.
Mm-hmm. You said higher frequency, and it's reminding me of the amplified word match. Mm-hmm. So in the frequency tables, we typically like to look and see what our frequency of the day is, check the word matches, and also check the amplified frequency, which in this case, because today is 60, the amplified frequency would be 600. Mm-hmm. And as you get higher and higher in these numbers, the entries become more and more rare in the frequency tables. So we actually have one entry mm-hmm. at 600, and it kind of, I think, beautifully ties into what you were saying about higher frequency.
Yeah.
Would you like me to read it?
Please, let's read it word for word.
Okay. So the phrase at 600, it's an exact match, is the highest of frequencies harbor the greatest impact. The lighter you are and become, the greater the influence you will achieve.
There we are.
Yeah.
So we're opening the heart and we're letting it begin to speak. We use words either way, whether we're speaking from the mind or whether we're speaking from a unification of the heart and the mind. Obviously, what we're being called to do here in this set of virtues that we refer to as the hearts is to very intentionally open the heart. Let it matter. Let it speak, and let it speak to us. And the heart is guiding us. Many of us have maybe heard this in conversation, in movies, that sort of thing. It can feel rather cliche. But what the Forgotten Sense teaches us, and what we've found over and over again in these conversations, is that our capacity to utilize the supreme power of the mind hinges upon our willingness to harness it to the resource of awareness that is the heart, the resource of feeling. So we first express or recognize something within us which guides us, which orients us appropriately in life. And then as we permit this process to unfold, we begin more and more to allow that awareness, that orientation, that life of the heart to speak verbally into life, verbally into the life of others. Mm-hmm. It's part of what we intend to do here every day when we show up to these conversations with you. Mm-hmm. So we have the angel of hearts. We love the angels. We've been very curious from the very, very beginning what the angels would show us, and we've been nothing but impressed by what we've seen. So here today, the prime instinct to celebrate comes from the sixth prime. The amplified frequency of 6 is 60. That's today's frequency. And the amplified frequency of 60 is 600. And we just read to you a long form phrase at that frequency. So you can get this sense of octave leaps. Mm-hmm. You know, every amplified frequency jumps an octave, so to speak. It's one way to think about it. they're containing more information, they're containing and expressing more power, and we're led along the way to kind of remember what we saw at the outset and carry it forward into everything we're seeing in those amplified frequencies. It's just a lot of fun to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
The heart essence of affection. We mentioned yesterday that this theme of affection is something that's carrying over. We spent a lot of time talking about it yesterday, a lot of time talking about it the day before, and here we find the word once again front and center. What I feel excited to share with you is something you've heard us say many times before, which is we had no clue this was going to happen. We had no way of knowing this was going to happen. When the organization of the Liberated Tarot was first shown to us, all we knew was where the certain angels connected to certain tarot members, and some of those tarot members, like this one, were brand new. We had no idea what they meant. We had no idea what they represented. When we first laid out all these cards on our dining room table to find what the angels refer to as the crystalline codex, the way in which the angels and the tarot work together, we did not know what the angel of hearts even meant. In fact, it wasn't even the angel of hearts yet. It was the angel of cups at that time. It was a filler. Mm-hmm. We knew it existed, but we didn't know what it was. We didn't know that it referred to affection. We did not know that the angel of affection would be, or the angel of affection, or the angel that walks the pathway of affection. I can't remember. We were just working with it.
The angel of affection.
It is the angel
is
of
37.
Affection. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that was
yesterday.
Okay. It's a lot to remember.
I know.
We did not even know that particular angel was going to be corresponding in this way. And the day before that, when we met affection in another way, none of those details existed at the time. The words did not exist. The correlations did not exist. We told you about the angel interlock, how the second layer of angels wraps in. That did not exist. Mm-hmm. The prime instincts were not even an idea in our minds. So we've been truly led by revelation every step of the way. And every step we're given is like, oh my goodness, this is everything. And then there's more. Oh my goodness, this is everything. And then there's more. And so we find ourselves at this point today able to connect all of these dots going, oh my goodness, this is everything. And there will be more. It's like it's inevitable that there will be more. Mm-hmm. But we just want to be so clear that what we're finding here, this stream of correspondence from one day to the next, it is not random. And we are not responsible for it. We are only responsible for being the messengers of what we've been shown, which is a really humbling and really exciting position for us to hold. And so we do marvel at this. And it's the perfect segue to the angels.
Yes.
I mean, the 60th angel is the angel of possibility who walks the pathway of magic to become the embodiment of awe. What I've just described to you, and I think probably the reason I am describing it to you, is to say that this whole process from end to end, from meeting the angels to finding the Liberated Tarot, all the way up until today, it's been magical. Mm-hmm. We've been hands off in that we haven't produced anything through effort. We haven't tried to figure anything out. We've allowed that magic to present itself to us, and then we have been just awash in awe ever since.
Right. And I think the key point here is to state that our intention going into it was to find something magical, and we did. That is sort of the key, is having an intention, making a decision with intention creates what is waiting in this sea of possibility to become something.
I remember at the time we talked in terms of having magic eyes. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we would joke about that.
Yeah.
That's what you mean by we were looking for something magical. We weren't trying to construct something magical so everyone would be so impressed and say, wow, that's magical. What we were doing was choosing to meet our life aware of its magic and allowing for that magic, however mundane it might seem to be, however random it might seem to be, to lead us to whatever it wished to show. Fact of the matter is, if we had wanted to build a business, we would have never arrived at this position we hold today. This is not a business. It never has been. And that orientation toward building a business or making money or achieving some kind of a client base, these aims that we may have previously held in earlier versions of ourselves had no part to play in this. Mm-hmm. When Laura says we were looking for something magical, she means that we had released our need to produce something based on
value.
Yeah, to produce something strategic.
Right.
To produce something strategically.
Mm-hmm.
We had released all of that. We had our eyes wide open to the perfectly clean slate of possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Unaware of what we'd find, but totally aware that we would find something and that when we did, it would be magical. I remember when we met with this angel for the first time, even then, and it still remains true now, it's a little mind-boggling, the words that we find here.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, how did they come together? How did we get possibility magic and all? I don't know. I don't remember. But they're dead right, and they're totally surprising, and they're really beautiful and fun and playful. There's almost like a childlike innocence in them because you don't get to know, you get to witness, and you get to be amazed.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you do get to know, according to the angel, is that every possibility exists. Anything and everything exists. Anything and everything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
It told us infinity means infinity. There is no end to what is possible. So if that's all you get to know, then you can meet the blank slate completely free of expectation, knowing that you will witness something really interesting unfold. Mm-hmm. It may or may not be the thing you think you need. It may or may not be directly connected to the number of dollars you think you're supposed to be making in a month, or the sort of work you fully expected that you were supposed to be engaged in based on this or that idea you've been holding. If you meet that clean slate with a wide open mind and a wide open heart, you will see what's meant for you to see. You will witness the capital M magic of your life beginning to express itself through your life.
Right.
You won't have to make anything happen.
Right.
You'll begin to participate in what is already happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's magic.
You get to fully enjoy the magic as it unfolds.
Yeah. Yeah. And so releasing the need to know is the very thing that opens this door to possibility. It turns out that our expectations, most of the time, all the time potentially, are limiting variables in our experience. Mm-hmm. We can see so much. It's like wearing blinders. You can see a certain amount of possibility, but infinity exists. Mm-hmm. And so whatever amount you're looking at is less than what's possible. And this angel comes along to say, never stop expanding your sense of what's possible, which means also never stop releasing those expectations, never stop releasing those blinders, never stop releasing that need to know, because it's that very apparent need that is actually distracting you from or limiting your perception of the greater reality of infinite possibilities that you do in fact have direct access to the moment you realize you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this pathway of magic is actually the pathway of the magician. And in fact, a perfect frequency match to 60 to today's frequency is I am a magician.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, there it is.
I am the magician.
I am the magician. Mm-hmm. That's how you become a magician. It's not by becoming involved in some kind of crazy ancient magical rite and figuring out how to harness and exploit nature. That's not magic, and it's not being a magician.
Right.
Being a magician is becoming the conduit through which life moves. That's what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And that's where all of this comes from. So we skipped all the way ahead to the 60th angel because there's excitement.
Yeah.
And because that's where this day has, I think, really kind of drawn our attention in celebration. Mm-hmm. We're super excited by the 60th angel, by the fact that we've met with it. And as you now know, every time we arrive at a day signature in which we're working with an angel who we've met with, that's an invitation to revisit that angel, which we've done this morning. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we're so excited about the 60th angel.
Right.
Very accessible session, very readable session, pure gold. Read that session, study that session, enjoy that session. We have and we'll never stop.
Yeah. Yeah. It's our invitation to celebrate that session, that very first session that we had with the angels.
Yeah. So that's the prime instinct of this day, the prime instinct to celebrate. Another one of these repeated themes. A few days ago, we were on the subject of words. I think this was the pathway of endorsement we were working with at that time. And there was this heavy emphasis on the words that we choose to use and what they bring to life as a result of our endorsement of whatever it is we're speaking to or about, right? Mm-hmm. Today we've been focused on words again too. A lot about expression, a lot about whether it's the mind or the heart that's expressing. When we talked about that a couple of days ago, 2 days ago, it's just 1 day ago, I don't know, whenever it was.
Yeah.
Very recently. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's been a long time because a lot's been happening here. But whenever it was that we talked about that, we also shared a story with you about how to effectively utilize your capacity to speak, to create through speech. How we use our words is important, right? And we talked about how if you're using your words to express praise, thanksgiving, or blessing, then you are, in that case, being an effective or constructive creator. And we also talked about how anything short of praise, thanksgiving, or blessing is some form of profanity. It's a pretty strong statement, but it's a really true statement. And we told you at the time that we've bundled up these 3 words, praise, thanksgiving, and blessing, into one: celebration. This is because when you're celebrating something, you're praising it, you're excited about it, right? What you celebrate, you are inherently thankful for. Celebration involves thanksgiving. It has to, if it's true celebration. Mm-hmm. And celebration is a two-way street of blessing. That blessing moves in both directions. You are blessed by that which you would be moved to celebrate, obviously. Mm-hmm. And you pour blessing into the object of your celebration, whether it's an item or a person, every time you choose to celebrate. So this is why we love the word celebration. This is why we've built our little paradise here on the foundation of celebration. To find that prime instinct played out here again today makes perfect sense to us. Mm-hmm. What does the heart naturally do? It celebrates. Its version of that is to pour its affection into things. Mm-hmm. It celebrates holistically. That's what the heart does. It becomes excited in a way that the mind never can. The mind can become interested. The mind can become curious. The mind engages in a particular way. When the heart engages, this is what makes celebration celebration. You don't get to actually celebrate something through the intellect. You can engage with things intellectually. You cannot celebrate them unless both the heart and the mind are connected on purpose. Mm-hmm. Right?
Wow.
Yeah. So celebration. We love this word. The angel of honor.
Yeah.
What have we found over and over again? We found that the only true way to honor any gift is to enjoy it. We honor the gift of life by enjoying it. You honor the gift that anyone gives you by savoring it, by considering it valuable, mm-hmm. by treating it with tenderness and affection, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we talked about the other day.
Yeah.
This angel of honor.
56th angel of enrichment talks a lot about
yep.
enjoying life. Total enjoyment is an honorable act.
That's right. That was our second session.
Mm-hmm.
It's not random that we would meet first the 60th angel and then the 56th. They were laying groundwork for everything we've been shown along the way. Every time we meet with a new angel, it's like, this is the best session yet. The only reason it feels that way is because of every best session that came before it. Mm-hmm. They build on one another. So yeah, when we're dealing in terms of celebration and involving the heart, and when we think in terms of honoring life, honoring our life, becoming an expression of honor itself, this is what we're talking about. We're right back to enjoyment. Mm-hmm. You don't get that. You don't get to honor something void of that consideration of it. It has to be considered precious, right? So the angel of honor walks the pathway of persistence to become the embodiment of the warrior. How do these connect? How do you go from enjoy your life, honor your life through enjoyment, to this is going to require persistence?
Well, I think the session with the 60th angel describes everything we need to know about how they connect.
I agree. Show us what you're thinking.
Well, I mean, what the 60th angel really talked about very, very persistently was this importance of our choices and our power of choice, and how important it is to orient yourself in a certain direction by choosing, and then continuing to hold that choice and keep choosing. Persistently choosing over and over again in a certain direction creates the outcome.
Read the line. I mean, I'll read it if you don't mind. I love this line.
I'm not sure which one you're looking at, but
it's, wait for it, is to choose then choose again is what I'm looking for. Here we go. Okay, this is a direct quote from the Angel of Possibility. It says, to choose then choose again in one direction is the means by which you institute a world. Those are big words.
Yeah.
But they're also really simple instructions. Really simple instructions. To choose then choose again in one direction is the means by which you institute a world. You get a major reward on the opposite end. I mean, this is the largest payback you could possibly imagine. It's magical. On the other side of such a simple invitation.
Right.
But have you ever tried this? Choose and choose again in one direction, to not be distracted.
Yeah, and to say that there are infinite possibilities sounds like a nice concept, but this is what the Angel of Possibility told us very explicitly, that anything you wish for can be chosen, and you must simply hold to what you choose. And so that's what kind of ends up happening. We have this choice is made, but then we might doubt ourselves, or we might, basically make choices that do not align with what we desire, and you can kind of stall.
Well, if every possibility exists and we're swimming through infinity, the idea of holding a train of thought in one direction for any length of time, to choose in one direction and continue to choose in that direction when you're being flooded with other possibilities, all of a sudden you begin to get a sense for what this pathway of persistence is demanding of us. It may not seem difficult to choose enjoyment, except when choosing to authentically enjoy something that is all your own, something that you uniquely enjoy, to continue to do that even as there are other circumstances, other people, other voices, other expectations, other piling on all the time, it becomes really easy to get disoriented and to become distracted from that initial imperative. It's very simple when you think about it. In practice, we are easily distracted. And we can be distracted by any number of things outside of us and by any number of things inside of us. So it's like you can orient towards something and then begin to worry over an alternative. And what the Angel of Possibility is saying is that whatever you initially chose, that's possible. Whatever you're worrying might happen, that too is possible. And so then it's like, okay, wait a second. Whatever I'm offering the primary force of my attention to, with any degree of consistency, that's the thing that is beginning to institute a whole world of experience and opportunity and emerging possibility and circumstance around me. The world begins to shift in response. Your world, your personal world, begins to shift and to modify in response to whatever that is. This path of persistence absolutely requires something of you. It requires you to choose and to continue choosing. That's something. It's a whole lot more something than we ever thought it was initially. When we first received this session, it was like, oh yeah, easy, got it. Let's do that and never stop. And we were sincere. We remain sincere. But what we found in all the time that's passed since is that, okay, this, at least for now, based on everything that we've kind of carried into this moment from previous agreements and ideas and self-concepts, at least for now, this is going to require some practice, because there are a lot of internal and external voices and expectations, distractions, calling our attention moment by moment away from what it is that we have in fact chosen. They tend to be fearful. They tend to be minimizing. They tend to be limiting, and they tend to feel really true, because those are the practiced narratives that have in many cases led us to the moment we now occupy. as we adjust and elevate those narratives, we become responsible for maintaining them. This was the angel of preservation on the pathway of endorsement that we've talked about just the other day.
Mm-hmm.
What will this require of you? It's going to require a spine.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's going to require. And that's why the embodiment is the embodiment of the warrior. The warrior in this case is not going to war with anything. Think about this. The warrior is not the pathway. This isn't the pathway of the warrior. You're not going to war with something. You are embodying something. What do you think of when you consider the highest possible image or vision or expression of the archetype of a warrior? You see someone who is unshakable.
Total confidence, totally powerful.
Yes. This is what you are seeking within yourself. This is what we're referring to as a spine. The embodiment of the warrior is unshaken by circumstance, undistracted by the noise of possibilities it has no interest in.
The warrior knows that whatever the circumstances are around him or her at this time is only there to further his cause or her cause. It is all for the benefit of basically furthering what you want.
Well, so yes, the warrior is capable of adapting everything to its orientation.
Mm-hmm.
But when we're dealing with the embodiment here of the warrior, it's not doing anything.
Right.
You're not becoming the warrior as an act so much as a state.
Right. So it's allowing everything to work for you.
That's exactly right. The only way, to your point, the only way any of us get to embody the warrior is by coming to such a firm conviction, such a complete understanding of the fact that everything that happens for us,
mm-hmm.
and that we are not responsible for trying to, finick with it and control it and manipulate it.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only way we finally get to develop the quality of spine, so to speak, that we're describing here. It's the only way to develop true confidence.
Right.
That confidence has got to be in something beyond you. There's no other way around it. This is why historically the image of the warrior is always representative of some tribe. The warrior is never a standalone being. The warrior is fueled or propelled by his or her awareness of what it is that supports the warrior and what the warrior supports. There's that symbiotic connection between the warrior and what it loves.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to play out here too. We have to maintain such a strong cord of connection to this truth that we know to underlie our experience, this truth that we know to fuel and inspire and support everything that we have to do. There is no spine void of that awareness. There is war void of that awareness. There is self-protection. There is putting up boundaries. There is a withholding of your power from life out of fear, out of concern that something out there might be out to get you. That is not the version of a warrior we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to war with anything. We're establishing a pillar of confidence within our own being, which is embodied, which is a state, which is a posture that permits this pathway of persistence to be walked. We can hold the line. We can remain true to the paradise, to the vision that we are holding, to the awareness that we've come to, regardless of what might be happening around us.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason we can do this is because we know that whatever happens, no matter how beautiful it looks, no matter how terrible it looks, it's all happening on purpose in support of the vision.
Right.
Because that's how life moves. It moves in response to what we choose.
Mm-hmm. And the reason that we find the warrior here in the hearts is because that persistence requires you to keep your heart open. That is part of that immovability, have to persist in keeping the heart open consistently throughout, despite, what circumstances look like. We have to approach life with this affection, with this knowing that nobody or nothing is truly out to get us.
And that is very hard to do sometimes. That does require a degree of mental stamina, spiritual stamina, yes, even physical stamina, to stand against the odds. That's how it feels. It's like you're standing against the tide. But what's actually happening is you're finally permitting the true flow to move you in a new way. And the tide that you're standing against is the tide of lies and misunderstanding that you have kind of grown up believing or agreeing with in some way. Mm-hmm. As we orient more and more persistently toward what is true, toward what is beautiful, toward what is real, that orientation very quickly begins to burn off or release all of those prior agreements, all of those smaller ideas. I wonder if you've scrolled down to one of my favorite lines. This angel spoke to Laura directly, but the words that it gave her in this particular area were for all of us. I've never stopped hearing them. Mm-hmm. It said, choose to dismiss any vision that makes you feel small. Choose higher visions instead. Yes. Really consider these words. You got to break this stuff down. This is something we'll do in time when we begin. I think maybe when we complete this suite of day signatures, I could imagine us moving into our commentary on these sessions. But choose to dismiss. You can stop right there. That's a choice. Do you realize that you have that choice? Right. That the sense of smallness that has hounded you your entire life, that you just believed was true about you all along, is sticking to you because you continue to believe it and that you can choose to dismiss it? That is the definition of liberation right there. Mm-hmm. Choose to dismiss any vision. We can stop right there again. Any. These are unequivocal terms. There is no exception to this. Choose to dismiss any vision that makes you what? Feel small. That is not mental. Mm-hmm. The vision may be, but the orientation, the communication system that indicates the quality of the vision, that is all heart. Yeah. Feel small. If you feel small, it is not true. What? Yeah. That's literally the opposite of what we've been taught.
Mm-hmm. And this is exactly what we do with the frequency portal.
Yes.
We basically take those two lines and then we get to work actually, working with the portal, expanding on those visions, dismissing the visions that make you feel small. That's what the portal is all about.
The portal does the second half, which is choose higher visions instead.
Yes.
Again, you get to choose. And did you know that you can take your pick of any vision in all of infinity? Did you know that those ideas and those visions of yourself that feel the best are feeling truth. That way because they're mirrors of you, because they're telling you the truth about you? Did you know that when you were just kicked back watching a movie, I always go to Lord of the Rings, and you watch like Aragorn develop into this magnificent being over the course of like 12 hours. Those movies are so long, but you're like living this massive epic with all of these different characters, and every one of them is like kind of hitting on all cylinders. I love the Aragorn story because you're watching this development unfold, and you arrive at this point where the king returns to himself, to his kingdom, and claims it, and he literally glows with this soft light of complete confidence, awareness of himself, which he's earned all along the way. That moment, if you're watching something like this and you're like, oh man, I wish, that is not arbitrary. Mm-mm. Not everyone is watching that particular scene saying that. You are, because you're seeing yourself in that image. So we get to choose the higher vision. That's what the frequency portal does. The frequency portal actually has nothing to do with releasing smaller visions. It just completely avoids that half.
That's true.
Altogether. So it's not about the two lines, it's about this line. Mm. The frequency portal says, did you know you get to choose? Okay, now that you know that, get to work. Choose the best. Choose the highest. And then the angel of possibility comes along to remind you that infinity means infinity. So the moment you choose something that stretches the boundaries of your personal comfort zone so far beyond anything you've ever permitted before now, the moment you've done that and claimed something that big for yourself, keep going. There's more. Keep going. Keep growing. choose higher visions instead is a perpetual statement. This is a part of what the path of persistence means too. You never arrive.
Right.
That's on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Infinity expands. It continues to grow. You will never arrive. There's nothing to achieve. You can become that largest vision and keep on going. You can make the largest sum of money you can possibly imagine in a month and then keep going. There is no end to what is possible. The limiting factor in all of this is your willingness to perceive of yet more possibilities. Mm-hmm. That's all. Your willingness to continue to expand that membrane of mind, to expand that membrane of heart, so that you can conceive of those higher visions on the one hand and receive of those higher visions on the other.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that awesome?
That's why the prime instinct today is to celebrate. There's just cause for celebration at every turn and every moment when we're choosing higher visions instead, when we are constantly expanding. We know that in every moment we have something to celebrate, and we will continue to have more to celebrate.
That's right. To celebrate is to pour your affection into whatever it is that you're celebrating. That's the connection here. It's so obvious, it's almost easy to avoid statement. Like it's just right there on the surface. We get what enjoyment is now. We get what affection is now. We get what celebration is now. But do we get that we are the ones responsible for choosing those over and over again, no matter what the bank account says, no matter what that friend or family member just said on the phone, or the text that you just received, or the email, or the piece of mail from the IRS, or whatever it may be? All of these things that initially serve to distract us begin to reveal themselves as the messengers, the lights, the allies, the opportunities that they are. Very difficult to see that before we've taken up this embodiment of the warrior, this awareness of possibility and how it moves in response to us. But the moment you've oriented yourself and you've maintained that orientation, you begin to witness how all of these things, which previously felt so dire, actually contribute to the life you're building. You are instituting a world, but that world is being built not by you, but by magic. And what is magic but life's natural movement? Mm-hmm. Magic is the way in which life moves when we are not so busy trying to get life to move in the way we think it needs to. Magic is inevitable. When we get out of the way, we become the magicians, not because we're busy about the work of magic, but because we're finally allowing that magic to move us, to move through us. We become the conduits of that life. And so what is left for us on that particular path, when all of this is now unfolding and we've allowed it to, what is left to do but to stand extremely tall and confident, to embody that spine of grace, that spine of complete conviction, and to stand in awe of the miracle that we are literally witnessing unravel itself like a red carpet before us from one moment to the next. What is left but to stand in awe? But you're standing, the warrior, in awe, the embodiment of awe. These two go together. Mm-hmm. Persistence and magic. Absolutely, magic demands your persistence. You will literally not see it unless you choose to. Mm-hmm. That's what we're learning here. All that time ago, I didn't even expect this to play out as like a metaphor for the day.
Yeah.
I didn't know why I was excited to share that, but I see it. All that time ago, you're correct. We chose to meet our lives with our magic eyes open, so to speak, on purpose, void of expectation. We honestly did not care what came of it. We just knew it would be good. It could have been anything. Mm-hmm. As far as I'm concerned, all of this feels way far out in left field. This is totally original, totally unexpected. There's no way we could have imagined it. It's all magic. It could have been anything, though. Our orientation was toward that expression of that larger life, whatever it meant. We're now living in the overflow of what that means, and it continues to bear fruit. This is not something we're intellectually considering. We are not theorists. Laura and I, what I'm saying is we are literally not theorists. We are operating on principle. The only thing we're doing different than some others is that we're choosing to apply those principles as if our lives depended on it, because they literally do.
Mm-hmm.
We're choosing to take these ideas, these spiritual ideas, these beautiful ideas, seriously enough that they can begin to bear fruit, that they can begin to test out and prove themselves as viable. Do you realize that the best idea in the world means nothing unless you do something with it?
Right.
That's just... It's the most significant contributor to this conversation. It is what persistence points at.
Mm.
You've heard this stuff. You've been following us. If not all along the way, then for the course of this conversation, you've got more than enough good ideas. What you do with them matters. The Angel of Possibility taught us exactly what to do with them. It showed us that it is not difficult. It's very simple. It is not complicated. It is very simple.
Mm-hmm.
It can be difficult, but when you realize that you have been given the opportunity to institute worlds of your making around you on purpose in this way, that's something.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can stand up and you can say with a straight face, I am the magician. And you can say it with all humility intact, knowing that you are the magician because of your relationship to magic itself, because of your relationship to life. The only difference now is that you're aware of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, one of my favorite lines from The Angel of Possibility was, when you decide mountains move, you do not move them, they move.
They move is italicized.
Yeah.
It was delivered that way too. It felt like a mountain when those words arrived. It was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
When you decide mountains move, you do not move them, they move. That is just so cool. The thing to remember in today's signature, the thing we're being called to remember, that part of us which is being celebrated and called to the surface through this day signature is persistence. The thing to remember is that we don't decide once. We choose and then choose again in one direction. This is the means by which we institute a world. Before we conclude, something just popped in my mind, which I'll share, which is that not only do you get complete access to complete creative power
Mm-hmm.
in this principle,
Yeah.
you also get complete flexibility. If you're choosing in one direction and then decide to refine, to alter course a little or a lot, you can do that and then just keep plug and play the exact same plan.
Mm-hmm.
We're never stuck.
Right.
We literally get to have it all and then more. It all and then something new and different. And I've never seen that before. This principle is not only perfectly empowering, it's perfectly adaptive. And that's, I think, exactly how we will produce a completely different world from the one that you produce, and on across every being that exists with any degree of consciousness. This is really cool. This is exactly how infinity means infinity. This is exactly how infinity grows.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to have a peek at these words and keynotes, and I mean, feels like we've kind of covered it.
Yes.
So then, what is left for us to do in the day? What do we take away from the conversation?
Pour our affection into life.
Love what you love,
Mm-hmm.
love it wholly,
Mm-hmm.
and do not stop.
Right. And choose to enjoy.
Yeah. Because when we do this, there's more to love, there's more to enjoy, and we become the center of all that.
Mm-hmm. When you choose this pathway of magic, you're inviting that magic to expand. You're inviting it to be present for you. If you don't choose it, then it's not, you're choosing to not engage with it, and that is fine. But what we're saying is when you choose it, you're choosing to engage with it, and you're pouring your affection into it so that it can give back.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like, it's that trick of words. You're not choosing for it to be available to you. You're choosing to be available to it. Mm-hmm. It's like been there all along.
Yes.
It reminds me of like Harry Potter or any of these movies where they talk about like the muggles. Like magic is all around. They just can't see it. Mm. can't, won't, doesn't matter to us any longer. We're choosing to see it, and so there it is. It could not be more obvious. It's part of why we've missed it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're 100% right. The possibility that you are able to see now is not the end of the story. And it doesn't matter if you can see a little or a lot. It's the same difference to infinity. There is always more to see. The membranes that we are expanding will never stop expanding. And so we have every reason, every right, and now every tool to accelerate that expansion without end on every subject. In any case where we find ourselves feeling small or limited, we also now know what to do. We can choose simply to replace those ideas with better ones, with higher ones, with larger ones. If you feel the truth and significance of this, but also feel a little lost in the sauce, like, this is awesome, I know they're onto something, but I still also don't feel like I know what to do next, the frequency portal is certainly an inexpensive, totally accessible next step.
Absolutely.
But
I can't say enough about it.
The frequency portal goes along with the forgotten sense, which teaches you not only how to do what we're talking about today, but how to do what comes before it, which is choosing the direction you're going to keep choosing in. You know, the forgotten sense equips you to choose effectively, to choose constructively, and to choose in alignment with your destiny, your largest possible story. So the frequency portal, step one, the forgotten sense, also step one, seer training, also step one. What could be more significant than using, one, the raw material of your everyday experience to enact what we're talking about at an accelerated rate on purpose with support? When we meet in seer training, we're doing what we're doing here, but with you directly. Yeah. It is laughable for us to connect dollar values to any of these experiences. We just make these figures up. The fact is, we're undervaluing all of them by putting any amount of dollars to them. What we're talking about here is the most significant thing any of us could be involved in. What we've produced in our little world of offerings and the website and all of these conversations, what we've done here is we've found ways of connecting you to that right away, right now. And we've invited you to join us in what we're doing, you know, in that way. We're super excited about all of this. Point is, if you feel excited but don't know what to do next, these are some examples of what to do next. You're not alone in it, and it is exactly as important as you're sensing. So whichever route you take, start walking. Right. You know, like, this is a really, really awesome opportunity we've been opened to in this day's signature. That's why the word awe is here. It's meant to instill a sense of awe, and that sense of awe is meant to propel us along the course of our own, you know, destiny, so to speak. That's what we're going to do our best to enact and to embody and to live out throughout the course of our day. We're going to celebrate. We're going to love one another and our world, and even you, yes. And we're inviting you to join us in all of that. Then tomorrow, we're going to meet again and have a completely different story to tell on all the same themes we're always talking about. Anything you'd like to add before we conclude, babe?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, we'll be excited to see how all this turned out, how our setup worked, and whatever we look like tomorrow, we'll be excited to see you again. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye for now.
Bye.